Hey everybody, before we start the stream, make sure that you are following me so that you can get more of my awesome content and join the Discord to voice chat with me. But don't worry, you won't be recorded. And make sure to go check out my reviews over on YouTube. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. And if you are one of those rare people that like to read, you can find my after action reports on my blog. And if you are interested, you can get some of my merch from my spring store. The links for everything are in my About section down below. Hello everyone. Just a second.
This is fresh on our minds.
Okay, just
not the anti-Mike club.
Just wait. Okay, I gotta. Okay, hello everyone and welcome. I'm Mike. And this is Mike's After Action Reviews, and this is the first annual 2022 MAARS Summit. So we are going to be discussing movies, we're going to be discussing video games, we're going to be discussing culture, we're going to be discussing a bunch of different stuff. Let's start off with everybody introducing themselves. So we'll start off with left to right, top to bottom. Mr. Ronagad, you're really loud, but introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm gonna turn it down.
Yeah.
How do I sound now?
No, you're good. Yeah. So introduce yourself. Tell us what you do.
I am Mr. Raniad. I'm a OnlyFans model. I stream through YouTube a little bit. I like long walks on the beach. Stuff like that.
All right, awesome. Great to have you with us. The man of the hour, and I'm very serious about this. I am so excited to have everybody here, but I'm especially excited that Lloyd came down and joined the stream. Lloyd, you want to tell us about yourself?
Please don't blow up my head. What do you call it? Lloyd Green. I run a YouTube site called Endless Perceptions, and do with our content and video trailers and all kinds of things from my past. But I do up my own videos, and I'm a writer also, write books and strange content also. And
all right,
that's it.
Yeah, awesome, excellent. And then Chris.
Hey, I am Chris. I am a combat medic in the Army. That's about it. All I do.
Okay, and one YouTube video under your belt.
Oh yeah, I have one YouTube video under my belt. The Wakanda review, Black Panther 2
Okay.
review.
All right, awesome. And Neil.
Brother Free. My name is Neil, and I work with Mike and Chris currently. I'm just a regular guy, just like you all out there.
Okay, cool. Salty Skipper.
Yeah. One sec. Oh, crap.
Get the script.
Hold on, guys.
So you got like 20 seconds before the ad break.
All right. So I'm amateur, artist and author, and I'm writing my own memoir.
All right, awesome. Hey, so we have about 10 seconds before ad break, so we're going to go to a break real quick, and then we're going to finish introductions with other Mike, and then we will be back after these short messages. All right, so we are back from the ad. We're going to continue with introductions. Okay, so Salty Skipper was the last one. Other Mike, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, other Mike. So I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a grandfather. As I told you earlier, I served in the military for almost 35 years. I'm a retired chaplain. And I help you do movie reviews. And I like watching movies. They're kind of fun. My wife and I do that quite often. So I guess that's where I'm at right now.
All right, awesome. Yeah, that's great. Okay, and then myself. So I'm Mike, and this is Mike's After Action Reviews, as I said before. And so I'm a nurse. I am a nurse in the Army. This will be the first time I tell my audience what I do, but I am getting out of the Army, and I do want to make it very clear that myself or anyone else in the Army does not represent the views of the United States Army during this live stream, and this live stream is not endorsed. Neither the live stream nor any individual is endorsed by the United States Army doing this live stream. So I just want to make that very clear so that we've put out that disclaimer. All right, so let's talk about some stuff, guys. Let's talk about some stuff.
Sorry to tell
yeah.
you, Arnold, I do have to step out for 5 minutes. 1 sec.
Oh yeah, I'll
You
get.
guys-
If anybody,
yeah, keep going.
yeah. And if anybody has to leave at any point, just if anybody, yeah. Thank you, Nina Marina. So Nina Marina says your shirt didn't give it away at all. Didn't give it away at all. Yeah. So this is actually like an Army T-shirt. But all right. So first question that I have for everybody is: do we want to start with video games or movies? I think video games will go faster. So maybe you guys would like to start with that, but I'm not sure.
I say you guys should video games.
Up to you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
go.
Okay. So
Let's save the
yeah.
best
Let's
for
get.
last.
Yeah, no, really, I think that there's a lot to talk about with movies this year, and that, but then video games is kind of like a, you know. So, if so, for my video game players, what is going on with AAA video games? So the video game industry, I've said it before that big gaming companies like Blizzard and this, they're kind of in the throes of death here with, you know, bugs and glitches on release. There's a generally declining quality. Not a whole lot of creativity. Actually, I know that Neil has some feelings about the Callisto Protocol that came out. It was supposed to be this. No, I just because I knew that you had something. I figured you'd have something to say about it. Yeah, just like video games are bad now. And the stories, and this is the thing I want to talk about, even with the people who don't play video games, like the stories in video games are becoming shallow, and everything is really hyped, and the budgets are really big, and the CGI is really cool, but things have become like nobody wants the story. Yeah, like nobody wants these terrible stories.
Yeah, just low quality stuff.
Where's Zelda
So
when
what-
we need it?
Yeah, exactly.
Zelda
Like
was pretty good. You know, Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild did come out. So,
Never played that.
what was the last video game that you played, Lloyd?
Me?
Yes.
I mean, the last one, oh Lord. I don't want to say Super Mario because that's not really what we're talking about.
That rock.
Say what again?
So that rocks.
Yeah, I thought it did. My kids loved it, and they kept beating me. But around that time, I was also Myst. Just blew me away. I don't know if anyone remembers Myst.
Okay.
Missed.
Yeah, I know what it is. Yeah.
Okay. And there was Murder in the First Degree, but these weren't like true video games. These were more like mysteries to be solved type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but that's
I guess they
that's
were
good.
video.
Yeah.
See, I'm the type of guy. So I'm the type of guy who cares about the story. So, like for video games that I don't play, like let's say there's a game I don't have time to play or it's not accessible, like I'm satisfied with going and watching YouTube videos of people playing it to get the story or the cutscenes from it. But nowadays, I've talked to people who have said that they don't even watch cutscenes from video games. They skip them all and they're just there for the gameplay. And I think that's a shame. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. You can finish.
Well, I was just gonna say, like my favorite video game series was Mass Effect. Now, even if you don't play video games, I can tell you that if you read a book of what Mass Effect was, or watched a Mass Effect the movie of what Mass Effect was, if it stayed true to what the video game was, that is one of the greatest stories in video game history. Like, it is so great. You go on an adventure as basically starting off as this like lowly, not so important military person, and you become a savior of the galaxy over three video games, and your choices matter, and the interpersonal relationships with the other characters in the game matter, and then it all culminates in you sacrificing your life to save the galaxy, save the universe. And actually, when the video game ended, I felt something in my heart. Like, I was like, oh, how bittersweet. And nowadays, it's all shoot 'em up, and like Elden Ring is the game of the year this year, and there's almost no story, and the game is just confusing. But man, is the gameplay good.
That's not true.
I mean,
There,
There's
it's a story, but you gotta search for it. It's not like
no. Just a second.
Yeah.
The story of a video game is what your character is doing now. What is an Elden Ring is lore and world building.
Okay. I agree.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I agree.
I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of similarities between like the video game industry and the movie industry. Like, because of technology and the internet, people's attention spans are shorter, than they used to be. So if they're playing it just by the numbers, they're looking at just what's selling the most, or what's making the most money, and it's, online games, PvP games. So there's not as many game studios focusing on those single player experiences anymore. Most of them are
Yeah.
chasing, battle royale or multiplayer only, or those kind of just like how the movie industry, majority of the bigger movies are um, superheroes or horror
Hello,
movies. You know
Staff
what I mean?
Sergeant
You don't
Matt.
see a lot of, yeah. Say again.
Oh, somebody in the chat. Staff Sergeant Matt is here. So.
Okay. Yeah, or a lot of remakes. There's not a lot of originality, or they're just chasing these big box office numbers, and it's a lot of times it's those superhero movies. You know what I mean?
I
Yeah.
would say. Oh, I'm sorry. What were you saying?
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I would say. I don't know if you guys play JRPGs.
Mm-hmm.
But the Tales series is always kind of like fresh and new, but it's not really super big here in the U.S. Well, it's kind of big, but like they always have like a fresh and original story, but doesn't really get a whole lot of love. But I
Yeah.
love all their like every iteration they come out with one like every year or every 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I like their stuff a lot because it's very story based, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also beautiful in its own way because it's got like a cartoony anime kind of look, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
But I get
Well,
what you're
unfortunately, it
saying
doesn't get a
exactly.
whole lot of love. So it doesn't incentivize, these studios to make unique single player experiences like those, because they don't get, the recognition they deserve these days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I do. Yeah, and I do just want to say, it's become very corporate, and I do see that similarity, like you're saying, between the movie industry and the video game industry, especially with remakes, like of movies and stuff.
Yeah.
The movie and video game industry have the ability to create new things. They do. There's infinite possibilities. Okay. If you don't believe that, look at independent films. Look at independent games. But they're going so corporate that it's like, why? It really is. They're going so corporate that they're doing like, oh, well, we know that everybody liked this game, so let's make another one, but we'll just make it worse. And then, like, here's a movie, and we'll just make it worse, And we'll, yeah, I mean, so I just want to, a couple of things I want to hit is like this. So this year we've had Diablo Immortal that came out, which was super hyped, a big video game. We've had Callisto Protocol, we've had Babylon's Fall. They've all come out, and a big thing that's really messed them up, it seems, is just like trying to capture the greatness of older games is one. Over monetization, trying to really over monetize, and then just kind of lowering quality to try to reach masses. When in the the olden days, video games used to just go for quality, and then the masses would come. And it's creating a system in which basically they're losing money. Like they think they're going to make more money by making a game that is going to quote unquote appeal to a bunch of people. And this is similar to the movie industry that's going to appeal to a bunch of people, but it ends up appealing to no one because you're trying to reach more audience than the game is made for or the movie is made for. Yeah, I guess we can kind of, so as we go through and we talk about different things, we can kind of bring up more video game stuff as we want, but I think that actually, as far as storytelling, we can kind of transition into movies as well, because that's a couple people's more expertise.
But one deal on the end of the video game deal that I noticed most of you guys don't even comment on is, the video game industry itself has completely abandoned co-op, side-by-side multiplayer games. That was a staple of my childhood when, these first things like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, all these things are coming out. You had to have friends. You had to have, people play these things alongside you, and that was part of the experience. And that's not a thing anymore in the video game industry.
Sure.
Yeah, and I do just want to say, Base, one of our audience members is saying, yeah, sadly, that is sad because co-op is the best. And I think that even Lloyd, who is not a big video game player, can identify with that. Like, do you remember being able to sit down and play video games with your friends on your Nintendo?
Well, that I took for granted, showing you how much out of the mix I am with this. I had taken for granted it's always that had never changed. That the most fun that you would have would being able to compete. I mean, are we talking about competing with others across the country and not with someone sitting next to you? Is that the real point? Because
Yeah. So basically, it's like if you and I want to play a game together, you have to buy the game and I have to buy the game. You cannot come over to my house and sit on my couch and play it with me.
you can't. I mean, it's not built that way any longer. That you have.
It's not.
It's not like two control. I mean, most games would come with like two controllers, and it's just built for getting on the internet and finding 100 other people and playing the game type
Yep.
of thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
against them.
Yeah.
So as
There-
Like
So would you? Well, I do just want to say, so just I want to get a comment on this. So, as someone who's not as familiar with the gaming industry now, but you were familiar, a little earlier in life, what do you think about that? Like, isn't that kind of,
I mean, the games that I like the most, I mean, because my daughter I used to play against, like a Murder in the First Degree and like The Mist, and it was set up that one player, there were two players and we're trying to solve a mystery or get the answers and get to the end before the other one. We're competing against each other. And that to me is, I mean, you can't do that if you're playing with 20 people across the board in a
Yeah.
particular game. I mean, is it all for the special effects? I'm trying to understand what it is, what's the attraction is it, of the video games today?
So I'll tell you what it is, because I heard some people talking about this, and so it used to be that Blizzard was this big company that made some of the best single player games ever, and they would have they had BattleNet, and BattleNet is still around today, and you can play their games on BattleNet. But what BattleNet used to do is, if I bought the game and you wanted to play with me and you didn't own it, you could log on to BattleNet and I could allow you to play the game with me for free. But then Blizzard doesn't make money. Blizzard doesn't. You see, I can if I can buy the game for $50 and you don't have to, well then Blizzard loses $50. So what they did is they said, nope, everybody has to own the game. And everybody has to like, if you want to play Call of Duty with me, you can't come to my house, and we split screen where you get half the screen and I get half the screen. We both have to buy a PlayStation 5. You both have to buy the game, and you both have to have the setup and you both also have to pay for online subscriptions to be able to play multiplayer. And so it's a big, it's an economic thing. I think at least, the majority of it is economics.
I mean, it's also an internet thing. Like, that's the other side of the coin, is you think about, not only the lack of ownership of the intellectual material, but also the fact that, you have to have this account play. And then if you bring your friend over to play and then your friend violates the terms and conditions, now you can't play. Now not only have they lost a paying customer, but they've also lost another potential customer as well. And so that internet deal, having to deal with these restrictions and ride these fine lines with intellectual property rights and laws that are basically in their infancy and just being developed, since, the late 90s up until now. A lot of that has contributed to how they're structuring these games and why they are, taking away their ability, like you're talking with BattleNet.
Yeah, so just a comment from our viewers here. This is from Base834. He says two things. He says he wish he would have been able to experience LAN parties, which are what we're talking about, where we can sit down in the same house and play games. Second thing is that sometimes the place where you can find couch co-op is in indie games. Independent game companies, couch couch co-op and things like that, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why
Um,
kind of independent games are seeming to be like they're doing really well right now. So
yeah. I mean, I will say the feature that you're talking about is still available for some games on Steam, but like they're usually older games like Left 4 Dead 2 and stuff like that.
yeah,
You can still do
yeah,
that where like you own the game and you can play it together. But you can only do it for like some games on Steam. I've done it with like Left 4 Dead 2, and that's pretty much it.
yeah. I do want to ask this though too, Lloyd. What do you think about this? Because Salty Skipper said this, and again, so it used to be that you would go and buy the game cartridge or the disc, and then
Hmm.
you took it home and you had the game, right? So
Right.
now you can buy games on the computer and you can buy games on PlayStation Network, which is like
Hmm.
basically online features for PlayStation. And then the game company, if it shuts down, you never, if you buy it in that way, you never owned the game, so now you
Hmm.
can't play it anymore.
Yeah. Well, you see, that's I mean, that's the whole thing with bleeding over to the streaming in the movie industry. In that I was joking with a friend a couple of days ago in saying that I have a whole bunch of VHS and DVDs. And that person said, "Oh, well, I can everything you've got on that shelf is streaming, and I can see it and pick it up in the convenience of not having all taking up all of that space." I said,
Mm-hmm.
"But do you know why the industry has moved in that direction? It's because it's the almighty dollar, in that they are tracking every time you turn on to see Beloved or Star Trek the Motion Picture or anything you have the affinity for. It's like they know, okay, now we know that he likes that, so we're going to present him with commercials or whatever, put other things in front of him. Plus the fact, I mean, it's like Big Brother, someone knowing your viewing history in comparison to the disc and the DVDs, because anyone who's got if I've got a DVD at home, I put it in my machine, I watch it a million times. They'll never know I have the obsession, short of back 5 years ago when they checked to see that I purchased a DVD. But other than that, I could have purchased 5 DVDs, and one of them I enjoy 100 times. The others I've never seen a second time. It all has to do with knowing your purchasing patterns and then going after that market instead of the individual truly owning something the same way. With Voodoo, um, I own. I'm getting away from. I guess it's all the same thing. What we're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, no, no, good.
With
Yeah.
Voodoo, I own about 20 movies. Okay, but if for whatever reason, for technology or whatever, or money, Voodoo goes out of business, what happens to my 20 movies? I own movies on Amazon, Amazon Prime, and then if Amazon Prime or whatever closes that part of the industry or goes out of business, what happens to my movies? They're gone.
Yeah.
Actually, Disney was getting in trouble for deleting movies that people bought like digital copies of.
Hmm.
Disney was getting in trouble because they were erasing the DVDs that people bought digitally,
Mm-hmm.
and so people were like, "Well, what am I paying for? Because I paid to have this copy, and you're like getting rid of it without me knowing."
Mm-hmm.
I, and then you can't play it any longer. I mean, there's such a difference
No,
between having the physical copy of something and just relying on the whatever industry to that your enjoyment will be there for you. Like I've watched this. I've watched Titanic 100 times, and I'm looking forward to my big screen and surround sound, and I'm going to sit down and watch it again, and
Yeah.
nothing. The company went out of business. What are you
I
supposed to
will.
do?
Well, I
I
will
think
say,
what you're seeing.
oh, go on, go on.
I think what you're seeing is, this deal with all these streaming wars that's occurring right now. Because you'll see property that pops up on one streaming device, and then they'll let go of it, and then the next streaming device picks it up a month later, and they'll start trading all these titles and intellectual property on a regular basis. And all these movies and shows they go through Netflix, Hulu, HBO, and each person may have their own little niches and their small, you know, uh, content that they hang on to, but all the other stuff is just getting traded around on a regular basis to try to foster, subscriptions and get more people involved, because the idea was almost kind of like perfect when it came out. Everybody who had cable uh, had the same gripe.
Yep.
I pay for 400 channels and I only watch
There's
10
nothing
channels.
on.
Yeah, and I only want to watch these certain things, but I can't watch these certain things under one subscription. I have to buy like this package and this package and this package. If I could choose a la carte, I would get this and that. And so streaming came along and they provided that. And they said, okay, hey, guess what? You can get our streaming device and it's, month to month subscription. If you don't like what's on here, just cancel it. Go to the next streaming device. If something pops up one month on a different streaming device and you like that one, sign up for a little free, entry fee and jump in and watch it for that month. And then, if you can remember to cut off this subscription, you didn't pay anything. If not, we hooked you in, But
Three
that's
three
how
minute
it
warning,
always
guys.
that's how it
Th-
gets
3
sold.
minute
And
warning.
then there's always something though in the back that they're taking from you. And it's like Lloyd's talking about that Minority Report. I get to watch your viewing habits. I get to watch what you like, and you're trading that information to me. Now marketers are very interested in that, and they'll buy that, material data all day long.
Yeah, well, I do just want to say one thing is that so on the video game side of the house, PlayStation Portable, that's like PlayStation's little, like Nintendo Game Boy type of thing. PlayStation Portable actually shut down, what was it, like PlayStation Vita or so? It shut down one of its stores completely, and there was a huge outcry because you could no longer buy games, but you also could not even play the games that you owned on PlayStation Vita. So they have brought that back, and now people can play games that they bought, and I guess you can still buy stuff too, but that almost went away, and that just kind of shows you that they are moving in that direction. It seems like that was a tactic almost to see like if they could get away with it, and then there was like a fan outcry, and people were like, we bought these games, bring them back, and then they ended up not doing it. Also, I do have a game on PS4 that I'm supposed to be, all your games on PS4 that you bought digitally, you're supposed to be able to bring them to PlayStation 5, but I do have a game on PS4. Do you remember the movie Real Steel with the robot boxing? I bought that game. It's actually a pretty fun game, and it's a couch co-op game, and I can't play it on the PlayStation 5. Like, it won't transfer over. It was so stupid, so...
I am an Xbox player usually, but I bought a PS5, and oh my gosh, their return policy is garbage. I accidentally bought a game, and I was like, oh my gosh, I accidentally bought this game. Can I get a refund? They were like, oh no, you downloaded it. I was like, I just realized it was the wrong game after I downloaded it. What do you mean I can't get a refund? And for Xbox, it's there's like a window.
Xbox
like,
is easier.
I can play the game. I can play the whole game, right? And as long as I finish it within that window, I can return the game and get my full refund. And they're like, oh, sorry, this happened to you, this, that, and the third. And then I accidentally download a game. I didn't even play it. I was like, oh, man, this is the wrong game. Like, they're like, oh, sorry, we can't help you. You downloaded the game. I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You have to read
Yeah,
the fine.
Well, I do know that PlayStation got in trouble because they were not doing refunds for Fallout 76 when that game first came out. But the game was so terrible, and people were really upset. They wanted their refunds, and they were actually charged. They weren't charged exactly, but like they were taken to court, and the court said, nope, you have to give refunds to every single person that bought that game that's trying to refund it. So.
And they're still giving out free content to this day because of that.
Yeah, yeah. So we have about 25 seconds to ad break. Does anybody else want to say anything before the ad break?
I like to play games, just to let you know.
Yeah, here's another thing. Yeah, what's that? So I do have a
Asking
comment
for a
from
friend.
the audience. I have a comment from the audience. We're going to read that when we come back. But for now, we're going to go to it's going to be about a minute, 30-second intermission. So we will catch you after these short messages. All right, we are back. We were talking about some stuff during the ad break, but I do just want to get this little piece of comment in here. This little comment in. So, Base says, this is Base834. He says this. Another thing about consoles is that paying to play online is a scam, or at least it feels like it. Do you remember when they switched to having to pay to play games online on console, and it's still free to play online on PC?
I remember that.
Well,
Yeah,
it
but
depends
PC is
on
more
it
expensive
depends on the
too.
game, and it depends on the platform, because like PlayStation does have few games that you can play online for free. The drawback to that is most of those games that you can play for free are
Suck?
extremely, what do you call it, where they have the
Indie?
microtransactions across all of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah,
nothing
yeah,
but
microtransaction.
makes the games completely unplayable, because you have to, like, you're in the middle of doing just some stupid little quest, and then you're like, oh well, if you want to keep going, you got to pay $1, and you're like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like an arcade kind of vibe.
Mhm.
Exactly. Video game consoles have become almost like modern day arcades. Like arcades went away, and now you're still paying to play. It's like stupid. So,
Well, you see that.
You know,
You see the distance that they're creating there. It goes from that. If you want to play video games, you have to go to the arcade. I grew up when we actually had arcades on boardwalks. You want to go play with your friends and go play a game, you have to go, make a thing about it. And then, oh, now we have consoles. They're in your living room. You get to play them with your friends. Okay, maybe if my mom is cool enough, we can have some friends over and get a little loud and play some games. And then they keep expanding that. You know, they hit the LAN parties. All right, well, you know, now we can stretch out across the room. Now, you know, you get the internet, and then they're working them off these different networks, and everybody just plays all these games. And, you know, I came back from Iraq in 2008, and everybody was hitting up with WoW and all this other stuff, and you'll just like open your roommate's door, and like they're just sucked in their own world playing with everybody, and you're like, hey, what's going on, you know?
Well, I think that, but what basically has happened is they got us hooked with these good graphics, good, you know, gaming experience, and then they said, okay, well now if you want to change what your guy looks like, you got to pay $1. And like League of Legends is the most popular game in the world right now, and the whole industry it's free to play the game. You can play and unlock every champion for free, but every year they're releasing newer skins. They release new champions with newer skins. They released all this stuff, and it used to be you could pay like for Unreal Tournament, or you know, all these games that were like online games like that, you could pay $50. You get everything. You have to unlock it by playing it in game. Now it's like you pay nothing, but but you know, after a year or so of playing, you've paid $150. Yeah, and that's the thing. And here's what Staff Sergeant Matt said. This is USAR Staff Sergeant Matt says, "Dollar my ass, try $20." Exactly. You're paying like $20 to change your gun color to orange.
Yeah,
it's a scam. Yeah, I don't pay for every once in a while I'll pay like $5 on a game, because you know, if it's a good game and it's free to play, every once in a while I'll pay $5. But there are people who pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars a week on these games.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like
especially the mobile games where you can have your credit card just like straight hooked up to, you know, your phone and do like Apple Pay or Google Pay. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, it gets ridiculous.
I've myself paid like $500 on a mobile game. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
there's a good bit of money in it.
Yeah. Well, so I think that pretty much kind of wraps it up about video games as far as some of the stuff I want to talk to. Maybe we can come back to some more topics, but I'm good if you guys want to move on. Maybe we can start talking about some movie, you know, just kind of get into the movie stuff. Yeah. Staff Sergeant Matt says, can we say Call of Duty mobile? Exactly. Those mobile games, I'm telling you, they're going to end up costing you more money than buying. You might as well buy the console and play it on console, because... Okay, so so 1 second. That's what they are designed for, not for the average consumer, but for people who do not have a problem paying for a lot of these things. Yeah, exactly. Like, these games are designed for what's called a whale, which is like somebody who will pay thousands and thousands of dollars a year, and that's where they keep their money. So that's why the best gaming experiences in those types of microtransaction games are not even accessible for average players. It's, yeah. But okay. Oh, yeah. I didn't say it yet. So Neil, he had to duck out because his computer died. He was going to have to go shortly anyway, but he just wanted to say, hey, sorry for the laptop dying, but he's out for today. So so let's kind of move into the video, or into the movie industry here. Excuse me. So movie industry in the last couple of years has been dominated by two big companies. And I don't know, how do you think that the movie industry is doing now? Is it healthier, the same, or less healthy than it was 10 years ago?
Less.
Less healthy?
It's a little less to me. Yeah.
Okay.
I remember there was a time, I mean, I'm much older than many of you here, that with the comic books, you'd have a thing called, I guess it was, if anybody's ever heard of Iron Man.
Oh, yeah.
There was the origin story in the 1960s of the gray clunky suit, and then it turned into a yellow clunky suit, and then it evolved into the red and yellow suit that he had. Now, you lived that as a child. I lived that through the comic books. And then, I don't know when it was, after the 2000s, that Robert Downey Jr. came out to to play that character. And I was blown away to the point that they had this guy who was in a life and death situation who had a gray clunky suit. And it wasn't for a long time. It might have been for 20 minutes to a half hour, but it was still the point that they were doing the correct origin story in that this is how it started and then it evolved up from there. And whoever put that together, making it jump out of the comic books, was pulling in the new crowd with the special effects and the old crowd, meaning myself, with the old comic book origins. And they could not help, but Marvel was just doing it right. They couldn't help but just make it something great that everyone wanted. Well, those interested in the character wanted to see. And it had a very involved plot that was, well acted and blah, 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 blah. Now, it's been a decade or more later. It's been a decade or more later that it seems to me like they're trying to forget DC for right now, but they're trying to utilize the same formula over and over again. But some of it's getting tiresome. I don't know. I need something new, brand new, and some jump forward in the industry. I'm not as amazed.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I will say, so Iron Man 1, by the way, the first Iron Man movie came out in 2008.
Okay.
So Staff Sergeant Matt is saying, just a second, this is just a commentary on this. Staff Sergeant Matt, we have three comments by him. He's saying it's gone political, and he said because Stan Lee died. Now, I know Stan Lee, he's kind of taken a backseat for at least a little while. And then he did pass away recently, and I do think that was a shame, and I don't know how much control he had, but maybe it was just a coincidence or maybe not that his health started to decline and then he passed away kind of as Marvel started to go downhill. I do think that you are correct when you say like, oh, the proper origin story, but I also have to say that I kind of do agree with Staff Sergeant Matt here when we talk about getting too political. I don't have a problem with, and other Mike and I have talked about this, I don't necessarily have a problem with something having an agenda or having a political thing that it wants to present, but when you place that ahead of good storytelling, I mean, it's a story. If the storytelling of your story is not good, then it's not a good story. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
For instance, if anybody's watched She-Hulk, that movie is, I think it actually, or that show, sorry, it's a show. I got like 3 or 4 episodes in and I just had to stop because
You got that
I mean-
far? I watched the episode and I said, this is it. I can't.
yeah,
Are you-
I was supposed to do a review. Oh, excuse me. I was supposed to do a review, so.
I don't know. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think a show that did a really good, job of adding in political elements, to their storytelling while keeping, continuity and all of that was the Sandman. There was a lot of kickback from people saying like, oh, this character doesn't look like they do in the comic books. This character, this one was a girl in the comic books, or this was a guy, and here they have a certain sexuality like gay or this, and but the person who was directly involved with that show was the inventor of Sandman, Neil Gaiman. So he signed off on every single thing that happened with the show. So you can tell that that still stays within his story arc, and you can still see the passion about the project throughout the show.
Along with that, I don't know if you guys have read the Percy Jackson series, and the original movies that they did. The writer was like, he was like, this script, no offense, is terrible. Like, a lot of people are not gonna like this. And then they were like, oh, okay, whatever. Went along and did the movie. It did bad. And everyone was like, "Oh, it's nothing like the book. They shouldn't have made these choices." And then so now Disney picked it up, and they have him as one of the writers. So I think it's going to go a lot better.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys a question, because we do have a comment here from the chat here. Base834 is saying at least the Star Wars series are doing better, and he says, and I am a huge Star Wars fan. Star Wars, I know that this maybe isn't from this year, but this is the first time that we've had one of these annual things, so we can kind of talk about things from other years and stuff. But Star Wars, forget about it. Star Wars crashed and burned for me. I never saw the last one, and I haven't seen any of the shows, but has anybody seen any of the... I know, now I'm like, has anybody seen any shows? Is it good? What's up?
The animated shows are good.
I mean, also, The Mandalorian and Andor, like those are two amazing shows.
Yeah.
And they're bringing in all the world building that you want to see. And, you don't have Jedis and Sith and all these other, outlandish characters in there, and you're seeing like, okay, this is what the regular world looks like on a daily basis. It's a different take on that same universe, and those do a really good job of that.
Yeah,
I think you get into the problem.
I totally agree with that. And the one show that I've been waiting for years, and they kept advertising it, mini trailers, was Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I was so disappointed.
Yes.
Huge flop.
I didn't have high expectations for it. The character, I mean, don't get me wrong, Obi-Wan's cool, but like I always found him kind of boring, just because the lack of emotion from a lot of the Jedi and everything like that. I feel like they should have done one with what is his name? Oh my gosh, Liam
Neeson.
Yeah,
they should have made a TV show about him. I forgot his
Qui-Gon
name.
Jinn.
It's slipping my mind. Yeah,
Qui-Gon Jinn.
They should have made one about him. His comics, because they have comics and stuff like that. His comics are very interesting.
Well, you see that. You see the flops happen on those shows that we don't need. I don't need an Obi-Wan backstory. I already know the story of Obi-Wan, and I already know what that character's about. I don't need a Han Solo backstory. How did Han Solo become Han Solo?
That was another flop.
I mean, he is the character he was. Harrison Ford played that character and did a bang-up role, and he embodied what that character was enough that I don't need a backstory on you. I understand what you're about. What the fans are craving are, the areas in the universe that haven't had any world building, and you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know what it's like to live on Coruscant. You don't know what it's like to live on, a Mandalorian planet where Jedi, are non-existent, and they're still fighting, these crazy space battles and all this. Those stories are interesting.
I would say too, I think people are looking for a strong female lead too, but not like a forced one. They're like not automatically like super powerful or have like some mystic ability where they can like grow in strength as you grow with them. And I feel like they missed the mark a lot. A lot of people missed the mark on that, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, I want to comment on that real quick. Is like, everybody says this. If you ever watch any video about the strong female character thing, they all say the same thing, but I'm going to mention here because it's worth saying, is Sigourney Weaver, Kill Bill, Sigourney Weaver in Alien, and then like the Kill Bill, and there's a bunch more, G.I. Jane, all those movies that kind of pushed that message, but they didn't push, they did it right. It wasn't that there was a message, it's that the writing was good.
Yes.
And Star Wars, Kathleen Kennedy, or isn't the owner, but the CEO of Star Wars, and she came out and did all of this fourth force is female and all this stuff, and then we ended up with Rey, who nobody liked, and there was a bunch of stuff that you could clearly see was kind of trying to push this message, but did it in a poor way. A lot of people complained about, so I saw The Mandalorian and I liked it. I even liked Boba Fett. I didn't think Boba Fett was great, but I thought it was good for the character. It was pretty cool. I didn't think it was great, but I thought it was okay. But then you see, like, in Obi-Wan, you have this basically old, decrepit, given up, dumb guy with a bad attitude getting led around on a leash by a little girl, and you're like, I get girl power, but why is Obi-Wan terrible now? You know?
Yeah. There's a
This
good TV
guy
show
about Luke Skywalker, huh? Okay.
about.
Wait, what's that?
There's
This
a
was
good
the guy
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
didn't teach Luke Skywalker, but okay, maybe I'm a little confused with that. But he was supposed to be a teacher of some kind.
Well, something that I said in my review, because I did a review of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I just said, like, hey, look, Yoda, when Obi-Wan Kenobi went to not Dagobah, when he went to Tatooine, his whole thing was that he was going to learn to be deeper in the Force, and so he learned how to do all this different stuff, and he was supposed to have a connection deeper to the Force. Well, then by the time that the show came around, I guess he had cut himself off from the Force and couldn't even do Force powers. And I was like, how does that make sense? You're supposed to be learning all this stuff from the Force. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, that's just bad writing.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, the series itself, I mean, the movie portion of it just kind of like dwindled with the Star Wars so far. They're gonna need something that, if they're gonna continue with it, they're gonna need something to jumpstart it, because right now it's really going nowhere. My opinion. One thing I do want to bring. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, go on.
No, but it's on a different topic. So if you wanted to finish something on this.
Oh, I did, and then we'll move on to what you're saying. But this is what Staff Sergeant Matt. So first, I just want to say, Base 834 is saying this is going to get very political very fast. No, but Staff Sergeant Matt is saying it's because we're supposed to realize women are above all other status. And then you do know the continuous Star Wars, it's going to be on one of the women figures. Like, if they continue Star Wars, it's going to be all about women, which is the same thing they're doing with the MCU.
I mean, which is fine. The problem wasn't that it's a female character. The problem was, what made Star Wars great was Star Wars took classic literature, Shogun literature, Japanese literature, and mixed it with Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, and they followed that formula. The last three, Star Wars with Rey and all this completely abandoned that. There's no call to action by the hero. There's no one there to like lead the hero on their journey and help them along. There's no crux where the hero has like this decision: do I continue to be a hero, or do I, abandon my quest? Like, none of that exists, and it's just thrown in, scrambled together. You can barely keep up, with what's going on, and then the lack of continuity to the original series causes everybody just to abandon the whole thing and say, well, like, this sucks.
Yeah. I have a question real quick for the group. Other Mike, you haven't said much. What's going on? What are you thinking?
Hey, a fool is considered wise if he keeps his mouth shut.
Well, did you?
Just in general, I think that if you're. My son's a finance major. He does finance. He says, "Dad," he goes, you don't create jobs. You create a product that people want to buy." And we're seeing a lot of this, and some of it's fast food. And I think we stay with the video games and stuff like that. People get excited about it, then they find out it's really not good for them, or it's not giving them that game nutrition. So we talked about this. We need better writers. We need better storylines, and sometimes they get it right, sometimes they don't. I think sometimes there are some cultural things that are being considered in some of this. Is that I think, just from my perspective, I think that feminism has a lot to say in what society's doing right now. Not whether you agree with it or not, but trying to. My wife gets tired of watching. She's, I'm tired of these women trying to be like men, and sometimes you see that with these women heroes and stuff like that. I don't say they're all bad or anything like that, but there's some cultural things that are going in behind it and that are feeding into the movies. And I mean, quite frankly, I was like looking over the movies that came out this year, and I had like maybe like a half, maybe a dozen that I really liked, and some I didn't even go see, and I'm like, man, I didn't even know this movie existed and stuff. Oh, the light just came on, so, anyways, but that was
Yeah.
Well, I had it off and just turned on.
Got a good idea for it, I guess.
But I think there is a lot of underlying. I think with Disney, there's an agenda that's going on there. I mean, they've said that they're pushing the LGBTQ agenda, and they are. You see it in their movies and stuff like that. And there's a lot of people that are hedging against stuff like that. They want to see, I saw a movie about who was it? Longfellow, the poet, talks about how he wrote his poem. I heard the bells ring, the Christmas bell ring. That's his lyrics that he wrote. It was a great movie, a great story. It didn't get a lot of traction with people, but I just thought it was a really good movie and stuff like that. So there's some really good movies out there that they're not going to hit everybody, but they hit some people and stuff like that. And maybe that's the problem, if they're trying to have a movie that everybody's gonna like, and that's like trying to find everybody likes every NFL football team. Of course, I like the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not gonna like other football teams. So, not every movie is gonna appeal to you. Not every game is gonna appeal to you. I mean, it's just nature of the product. I mean, maybe they need better products. Better products that get protection people.
I mean, they definitely have to up their game on that, because when you're talking about, it costs $100 to go take your family to the movies nowadays. That's very different than 20 years ago, when this is just, we'll go see a Saturday night matinee, and if we don't like it, we don't feel gypped. We just went out and had a good time.
Yeah.
But now, when you have to like financially plan to go out and engage in
Hey, 3-minute warning. 3-minute warning, guys.
You end up, if I don't get the best experience ever, I feel robbed, and so that's where they're just throwing everything at the wall and just trying everything, when if they just stick to the tried and true methods of like, okay, character development, this is how this works. Here's how, every single plot follows this structure. Let's work like this, and then maintain our continuity. Really, you don't, end up with horrible products, and people won't feel that bad about it.
Yeah, that's true.
I will say, one great series that displayed feminism well, and like I loved all the characters, was A League of Their Own. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
I've seen the movie.
Yeah, I saw that.
No, there's a new series. There's a series for A League of Their Own, and it's actually really good. It deserves more spotlight than what it got, but it's really good.
Yeah, I saw the movie, and the movie was good. I thought it was good.
It's a series on Amazon Prime, and it's got a lot of different characters, and they have flaws, but like you like the characters anyway, and it's a female-led cast.
Yeah.
It's really good, guys. You should check it out.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it, but one series that I think is really good about doing like a good explanation, I would say, or something that I would tell people, go watch this, and then you'll kind of get where I'm coming from here, is because if you've ever seen Black Mirror, that show it's for adults. So and the
beginning of it was good. It sort of coasted after that, but I really enjoyed it in the beginning. Yeah.
But the thing is that show presents a lot of political ideas that go kind of far one way, and I don't care about any. Even if I disagree with those political ideas, I don't care at all, because hey, guess what? The show's good. The show's good. Nobody cares. The show's good. So I know that Lloyd has something. The next topic, but we have about 35 seconds left. So if there's any closing remarks on this, and then we'll go to ad break, and we'll start the next topic.
It's something I could just say real quick. The one time I was really tricked, and I was the Hawkeye series that they brought out. They might as well call it the Ms. Hawkeye, show because it was not about him. It was about her. They kept saying Hawkeye is coming, Hawkeye is coming, and
Yeah.
then the female younger lead, she just took up something like 70% of the show, if not 80.
Yeah.
And that's all well and good if you have expectations.
Yeah.
But that was
All right, guys. Ad break is coming soon, though. Then we're going to move on to, we can talk more about this or move on to something else. But we will see you after these short messages. All right, we are we are back. So I did just want to make a comment real quick about the last thing you said there, Lloyd. Is so you were talking about how Hawkeye was basically, I mean, it was basically a sham because it was supposed to be a Hawkeye show, but he's not even the main character. Did you see Jurassic World? What was the last Jurassic World movie?
Stop! Don't mention that movie, please.
Because that movie. Yeah,
that
Jurassic World.
Garbage. That's like, do you want to make? Hey, guys, from the other movie, do you want to make some money? Do you want to make some money? Hey, everybody, come back into this. Let's make some money. People will come run to see it. Doesn't matter what the plot is or how repetitious it is. It doesn't matter.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
For everybody who's seen that movie, what was that movie about? Because I have one word that I tell people that movie was about.
Dinosaurs.
Okay, so Mr. Brownie God says dinosaurs. What do you say, Lloyd?
Big dinosaurs.
Okay. What do you? Anybody else has seen it? What do you say?
Oh, I haven't seen it actually.
Okay,
I think it's like
other Mike?
let's be together, basically.
Yeah.
So I
Or
just
the
tell people that
together.
movie is about giant bugs.
There was-
That's
The
what
mosquito.
the whole plot was about these crickets, these locusts that are going to kill everybody with the food population. And I was like, I thought this was about dinosaurs, not giant bugs. What the heck is this?
Is it now Starship Troopers?
Oh my
Big.
god.
I like that.
Yeah.
More numerous and
Looking
less
back
impressive.
at that movie,
Yeah, I thought it was
graphics were
I thought,
horrible.
I thought it was terrible. Okay, so I do have some points I'd like to bring up that we could discuss if that's all right. So basically, everybody said to some extent the movie industry is less healthy than it was. Some people have claimed, like big names on YouTube and some other critics and things like that have said that the movie industry is basically dying. I don't know to what extent that may be true necessarily, but I will say this. Warner Brothers, if you know, so two things I'll bring up real quick. Actually, three things. And we can talk about them kind of in order here. But Warner Brothers, it laid off 26% of its staff in one day just recently because of financial issues that they've been having with their movies. Okay, the CW. If you've seen The Flash, has anybody seen The Flash show?
A long time ago when it first came out. I haven't been.
Oh.
Tried one.
Yeah, it's not very good. It's on its 7th season, but it's not very
It
good. I'll tell you
declined
the
a
truth.
little bit. It started off
Well,
really good.
Well,
It's slowing
Warner.
down.
All right. 1 second. Staff Sergeant Matt says he's leaving, so goodbye, Staff Sergeant Matt. Warner Bros. Sorry, excuse me. The CW was just recently sold to a company in Texas called Nexstar, and the CW it does a bunch of cartoons and stuff, but its biggest thing recently has been things that have gone to Netflix, like The Flash. And I think it's called like Heroes of Tomorrow or something, DC Heroes of Tomorrow, and a bunch of other
Yeah.
things. Batgirl, Green Arrow. They were sold to Nexstar for $0. Actually, and when Nexstar bought them, it actually owed, like it assumed their debt of $100 million. So Nexstar not only did they go to Nexstar for $0, but then Nexstar, by way of buying them, actually assumed a debt of $100 million. And then the other, so like those two things. And then the other thing is that I think that there's really been the death of the Hollywood superstar, in which basically we used to have this thing where you'd see Sylvester Stallone in a movie and you'd go, oh, yeah, must be good. And there was, you'd see Bruce Willis and you'd go, oh, yeah, okay, I'm going to go see that. But now there's not really a bunch of actors that are really, really selling movie tickets except for maybe old guys. It's all those old guys. It's like anytime I see Tom Cruise in a movie, I go, oh, that's probably going to be okay. He's So I'd like to talk about those three topics, kind of in any way that you guys want to do it. So who wants to comment first?
I'd like to talk about that last one that you're talking, Arnold. You know, the death of the Hollywood superstar. And to me, that's actually more of a positive than it's a negative. Because,
Okay.
You have, looking in the 80s and the 90s, you do have good action movies. You do have good, overall movie content. And you have these, like, crazy people. Arnold's coming out, oh, this Michael Bihn's in this. Like you said, that's got to be a good movie. Then they're also, they have to make a living, so they're also playing in bad movies as well, and
Yeah.
you'll get that, we're just going to throw out content with this person in it, and it should just sell. And so nobody has to focus on the storytelling and the actual, plot lines that they're trying to make. And then you end up getting, like, just a whole bunch of line of, trash content that's tied to this person's name. Yeah, the big blockbuster movies is what's going to always, maintain their image. Now it's about entertainment value are you giving me? What is the story?
Yeah.
Why should I be interested in this, going to the movies and wasting my time to see this, and I'm not going to go there just because you have a cool actor in there.
Yeah. Well, I think one good example of it being a positive too is anybody remember that George Clooney Batman movie?
Oh yeah.
You remember
The
when that
bat
came
nipples? Are we gonna talk about those?
Oh,
I'm just saying.
Oh no.
And then
Just,
that's a
yeah.
perfect example. You look at Jim Carrey as the Riddler, and he just sucked. And I love Ace Ventura. I love Jim
Exactly.
Carrey.
Yeah.
You know, in all his stand-up comedy and all his sketch comedy. When he played the
Yeah.
Riddler, it's not the Riddler. It's Jim Carrey being silly.
Right.
And you're like, all right.
It should have been Robin Williams. I think he could have done it better.
You think so? Yeah,
I
Robin
think he could have
Williams.
I thought he'd been much better than Jim Carrey. I think he would have done the part better.
Yeah. You're like, this is a disturbed character. This is a narrative that we have to sell with this person, and they're mentally insane, and they're killing people and using these riddles and all this other stuff. And yeah, there's a little humor to what they're doing, and that irony to how they're doing it. At the end of the day, I don't just want a comedian. I want somebody who, when I finish watching them, I'm like, that was the Riddler. That was Robin Williams. That was Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think some of those limited series they have on now on Netflix are really good because they're not really the high, paid actor, but they have an actor who's pretty good, and they really do it's a well done, series.
The CW, what he was talking about, does a good job of that. Their first 3 or 4 seasons, they'll have an unknown actor, but they really want to embody that superhero character, like the Flash or whoever it is, and they will throw everything that they have, all their acting chops, into it, and then they get jaded because it goes on for 20 seasons, and you just can't keep up that emotional energy for that long.
Yeah. I'll say, I don't know if you guys have seen Stargirl.
No.
Stargirl. Is it on Netflix?
It's one of the CW shows. But they played towards the origin really well, but they also took some stuff out. Like her original origin was her stepdad was a superhero, and she wanted to be a superhero too. So she said, "You don't let me be a superhero or whatever. I'm gonna tell my mom you tried to with me." They didn't do that
what?
in the TV show, but in the original comic, that's what she did to become a superhero.
Wait, what the heck?
When I was coming up.
Well, anyway.
So they integrated it well, and they played to her origin as best as they could without being
weird.
problematic. I'll say.
He was a bad
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. That and oh my god, what was I gonna say? Never mind the other stuff.
Yeah. I will say it is true. So I think that the Flash now at the current season is just some of the worst television just some of the worst television ever. But its first couple seasons my wife watched, and she really got into it, and I was like, actually I sat down and started watching it with her, and I was like, wow, actually this is pretty good. And then and they don't have the budget. They try to do stuff with CGI. The CGI is really bad.
They took Smallville and they repackaged it into as many DC characters as they can. Did the same with Green Arrow, the Flash and all that. But it all follows that Smallville pattern. The first few seasons are really good. They do good jobs on telling the backstories of the superhero. They build relationships. They have character problems and things that the character has to overcome. You're you get really vested into what's going on, and then once it starts to ag on, there's only so many times you can keep hitting that formula over and over again before people get bored of it, and they're like, okay, it's gonna happen again, I got it.
Yeah.
People get too strong after a while.
Well, what ended up happening what ended up happening with the Flash? Oh, sorry, go ahead. No.
I said that had 10 seasons, and to me, the first 8 seasons is like it. After that, it jumped the shark. They really should have ended it after or summed up things at age. Season 8, made him Superman, gave him a costume, let him fly away, whatever. But they just kept pulling. You say, okay, we're the highest rated show, and we've got all this stuff going on. Let's make it 9. Okay, you know what? Let's make it 10. But it's like after a while. I mean, but I really enjoyed that series also. Happen to have it on DVD.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say one thing about the Flash, and I honestly I haven't watched Smallville the whole thing because when I was a little young when it came out, started coming out. But I will say this in agreement with what you're saying. You do see how in the first few seasons of the Flash, they're basically trying to set up who the Flash is, right? And then they get through doing that, and you're like, okay, we're established as the Flash, and then they're like, but there's no bad guy. Like we beat the big bad, so what's next? And then what started to happen with the Flash, which I thought was really weird, is that they did this thing where the Flash would run in, battle some bad guys, and then he would get to the final bad guy, and he would always try to like convince them to not be bad anymore. And it got so apparent that that was always going to be the strategy that they literally would have talks between the team where they'd be like, how are we going to convince this guy that to stop being evil? Like they would literally say that to each other, and I'm like, what kind of dialogue is this? This guy's like going around melting people's faces with his superpowers and ripping people apart, and your idea is, I'm not going to beat him up and take him to jail. I'm going to teach him the error of his ways. I'm like, what is the writing?
To be fair, that is like his character in the comics. To be fair. Exactly like that in the comics.
What, the
Just-
Flash?
The
Yeah,
Flash,
the
you think
Flash,
is like okay in the comics?
Yeah, like,
I don't know. I mean,
some of his rogues gallery has mental illnesses and stuff like that. So he does take them to jail, but he also like helps them through their like mental like episodes and stuff like that too.
well, then the other thing, just as I'm sitting here thinking about it, is that they had this whole sequence where it's like he is the Speed Force, and then there's these other Speed Force people, and they started to call them. They would always call them like so. So it's like he's the Speed Force, okay, and then you had the other forces, yeah, and you had other forces. Yeah, okay, and then the other forces would call him Dad, and I'm like, they're not related. Like you're not related at all. Like what is this thing?
Flash Daddy.
Yeah. Flash Daddy, that's right.
Daddy.
Yeah. Sorry, that's perfect.
You don't
No,
want
and it
to
was
get politically anything.
yeah. But yeah, so I just thought that was stupid and the writing was bad. That's what I mean to say, like the writing was just so bad. And you could clearly see how, as we, kind of like we're talking about the CW, like these shows, like you were saying, they go for a couple of seasons, the quality goes down. So the CW never made money. Like it, not in its entire history of creation has it made any money. So it's no surprise that they were sold. And basically this Nexstar company that bought them for $0. The Nexstar company that bought them. Well, yeah, they bought him for $100 million because of the debt.
Yeah.
So they did it clearly for the rights to make shows with their characters instead of any value that the company itself had. So
what they did was really slick, right? So they have the rights to the shows, and then they have the merchandise rights. So they weren't making any money straight off the show, but the merchandise they were making a good amount of money from. They showed the rights to the show, so they sold those. Well, gave them away because that's where a lot of the money is spent. But the merchandise are pennies on the dollar. So they didn't sell the merchandising rights, so therefore they will continue to make the show, but they will also get money from the merchandise for nothing because they have another company making the show now. So
that's actually a good idea.
Slick, but yeah, they were really slick with it, and it was really smart.
Well, yeah, but that just means that this Nexstar company, hopefully they start, they need to make money off those shows then. So hopefully we get some good shows,
Yeah.
It shouldn't be too hard. like I said, all of these shows are repackaged plots from the same originating thing, and I think all of it like goes back to like Dawson's Creek, and you see that throughout all these CW shows. It's like
Yeah.
Superman, but in Dawson's Creek, The Flash, but in Dawson's Creek, and so there's not much. You don't really need to get like best talented writers on this. You don't need to get like the best talent to do all this kind of stuff. You're like, all right, I have a prepackaged formula. I know how to make sugar cookies, and we're gonna do sugar cookies all day long. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was
No.
then someone had tried to do that with the original Superman movie. I mean, after the original Superman movie, because
Mm.
I remember when that came out, and that was phenomenal. That was long lines around that repackaged the whole belief in comic books and superhero, and it was like the first real superhero movie, and blah blah blah, and it really was. And number two is okay, very bad special effects. Number three and four, poor Christopher Reeves. I mean,
Oh
it's
God,
like
yeah.
he threw himself off that horse just to get out of that series or something. God bless him.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I felt bad for him, and his whole life turned a bad turn. Maybe I shouldn't make that joke about it, but
Right.
it's just that he was so terribly typecast, as in like what happened to George Reeves
Hmm.
with the television show. After that, like you can't get away from that character. Mm,
Yeah.
but
George
it
Reeves.
really faltered and went
He
down.
was the original Superman back in the 30s.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was that his
yeah.
dad or something?
No, they weren't related.
Oh wow, what a coincidence though. I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah. There's something in Hollywood known as like the Superman curse. So once you put on, the Superman outfit and you
Mm,
play Superman, uh, most actors have really bad careers after that.
yeah.
And it's the same with Christopher Reeves. I was telling Mike off this deal that you have these people that don't really care about the content. They don't care about the stories, so they just want to keep repackaging the product, or they want to market it and focus on these things, and that's how you end up getting these movies like Superman, what was it, 3, where he takes his S off and throws it at Lex Luthor and it
It
wraps him
means
up in a fruit
nothing.
roll up, and you're
Yeah,
like, you're
yeah.
Superman.
It meant absolutely nothing. And people are looking at each other in the theater saying, "What does that mean?" We say, "We don't know. Why they put it? I don't know."
Yeah.
Just-
And what blew it out of the water is Marvel came along and had people like Kevin Feige. They had people like the guy, what's his name, the one who's always following the new Spider-Man kid around. He was one of the directors. Yeah, they had these people who were like emotionally invested in these stories, and they like you were talking about with the Iron Man. I saw Iron Man grow up like this in the comics and change from this, and they incorporated these things in because Marvel was like, yeah, here, we're dying, take a chance on this kind of stuff, go
Yeah.
for the shoot for the moon. And when they really put that effort and that passion into the project, it comes out. Then people love these things. But after it starts making money, oh, now we got to find a way to recreate that magic over and over again. It's like you can't. Once you experience Darth Vader turn to Luke Skywalker and say, "Luke, I am your father," you can't relive that again. That
Yeah,
just happened, and you just got floored. So
yeah,
it's
yeah. It sort
Yeah.
of caught me off guard when I saw that. You know, sort of caught me off guard. And the one thing that I will give credit to Marvel again, though, in when we talk about, at first I thought it was just utter confusion how they kept remaking Spider-Man. This is the new Spider-Man. This is the new Spider-Man. This is the new Spider-Man. But what they used their imaginations and put together by putting those three characters in the same movie was such
Yes.
making ploy that was disgusting. Because for those who had never seen the other Spider-Man movies, what do you get curious to do? I want to see Spider-Man 1, 2, 3. I want to see The Amazing Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I want to see. And that's just another way of just pulling in people who had never experienced the old movies before. And it's not just like, oh, those are badly done old remakes, which they weren't. I enjoyed most of them. But it's like they found a way to just take everything and just bring more of that money in. And that was amazing.
Well, hey, I just
Yeah.
want to give you guys a 5 minute warning here. We're right at 5 minutes to add to the next ad break, but I do just want to say, as we're talking about this, when we compare Marvel and DC, is I think the big thing that Marvel really, really, really turned it around and turned the whole movie, I mean, video, like comic book industry of, going into movies, like comic book movie industry, and then just superhero movies, and even just the movie industry in general. It really, really turned everything around a little bit, or made a big shift. Was Blade. When they came out and they said superhero, they made that movie, and that movie basically said superheroes can be badass too. We're not all just about, truth, justice, and the American way, and oh, let me fly over here and, save your kitten out of a tree. We're gonna cut some heads off of vampires, man. That movie, and actually at the time, yeah, no, at the time, Marvel, the company as a whole, was sinking really badly, and they were like gonna go under, and then they made this movie, and they said, let's just like you were saying, they were desperate. Let's try it. Let's shoot for the moon. Let's see what we can do here. And Wesley Snipes and Blade saved the entire company. Yeah, and then they made 3 movies, and then from those movies, they made the money to make Spider-Man, and so they did Spider-Man, and then from there, MCU. The MCU came out, Actually, that's why I get irritated when people talk about, and actually, Chris, you remember this? We talked about this. When people talk about Black Panther being the first big Marvel black superhero, I'm like, no, man. It was Blade. It was Blade.
Yeah, we did talk about this. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Now, I had missed that because I wasn't keeping up with comics after certain decades, and I didn't know that Blade was that was intrinsically that was Marvel. So that's something. Okay.
Yeah. So in the comics, Blade was a. So in the comics, Blade was a human, just a normal guy, who would hunt vampires, and then for the movie they said, like, I think it was for the movie, they said like, that ain't gonna work. We can do better than that. So they made him half vampire so he could walk in the day. And then when the movie came out, then it did so well that they changed him in the comic books to the cool looking Blade that we have today. So he really started the whole thing.
Well, I always liked his character in the movie.
Yeah.
I liked his character.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
My only constant continuity gripe with Marvel is that the one character they've left out through all of the Marvel universe is Spider-Man, and Spider-Man is the one who literally ties the entire Marvel universe together. He is in every other character's comics. He's in every other character's stories. He's involved in the origin stories of a few characters as well in Marvel. And thanks to the whole Sony Marvel debacle, I think that entire part was missed. And now the one that we have, I don't know if he'll be able to recreate that.
Yeah. Well, so that goes back to that goes back to kind of the problem that Marvel was having. So at the time before they made the Blade movie, they were in a huge financial crisis, so they started selling the rights to their characters, and that was basically the whole thing. They sold the rights to Fox for the Fantastic Four. They sold Sony the Spider-Man, but they didn't just sell Spider-Man, they sold every connecting character, so like Venom, Green Goblin, all of those characters, and then they did the same thing with Fantastic Four. So that's why we're in the current state that we're in.
That was the worst character.
We have 40 seconds. 40 seconds. Just letting you guys know before ad break. Chris, you're being quiet. Say something.
Just the light's really bothering my eyes. So I have a real bad headache.
I see how it is, Chris. Chris is
I'm
the man
sorry.
in the dark.
He got bit by a vampire.
Yeah. See, you're the next what? Blade?
All right, the next Spawn. I
Blade
like
2.0.
Spawn better than Blade.
Yeah. All right. So about 5 seconds before ad break here. So we're gonna go to intermission, and I think we're good to keep rolling. So we're gonna see you guys after these short messages. All right, we are back, and I have put Chris and other Mike on notice. You guys have to talk some more. Gotta talk some more.
Right.
So I do. Okay, so then some more stuff I want to talk about just real quick, unless there's anything really to carry over. But I just wanted to. So these shows, and we were kind of talking about the CW, but Disney has bought up everything. I think that Marvel has gone downhill since Disney bought up everything. I think that Marvel was maybe going downhill a little bit more, but a lot of this political stuff coming first, rather than good storytelling, has been happening since Disney bought up Star Wars and Marvel and all of that. But these shows, Disney's really pushing all these shows for Disney Plus, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, like She-Hulk and Hawkeye. Star Wars, I guess, is doing okay. Andor is doing okay, but some other people have had complaints. But a lot of what's coming out of Disney right now is poor quality, and they are basically being kept. My understanding is they're basically being kept alive, not by their movies and stuff, but by their parks. The parks, my understanding is that the parks make huge amounts of money every year, and that's how they're they're basically taking losses on a lot of things, and then the parks keep them alive. One second, I'm looking it up right now.
I'm sure they'll be able to sell and market the intellectual property. I'm sure that makes them tons of money. Being able to, make all the figurines, the toys, all the merch that you can sell off of that. The huge issue with Disney taking over the Marvel Universe and Star Wars is that Disney is always first and foremost about an image, maintaining that image, and nothing will break that. So if they buy, Star Wars at the point where they bought it, they need to maintain that image of Star Wars in perpetuity until they finish owning it. So any creative outlet that you want to have outside of that is going to be just struck down by Disney. Why? Because it's not what we bought. That's not the image that we bought. And when people come here to Disney to spend their money in the parks and buy merchandise, I want them buying the image that I paid for.
Yeah. I do just want to point out. I do just want to point out real quick because I mentioned it. The Parks, Experiences, and Products division, which also includes Disney's cruise line and merchandise business, generated $7.4 billion in revenue, which is up 36% from last year. So that is not them making, let me see, because it said 7.4, and then in total their whole business. Okay, here, wait. Oh no, okay, so that was November 8th, and then it's saying here that in 2022 the Walt Disney Company, that was in revenue. Oh, that was just in one period. Yeah, right here it says it made, in 2022 it made nearly $29 billion US, just the parks.
Wow.
Just the parks. So the parks make 28 billion, and then so with these movies and stuff don't do anything, compared to the parks, which is great. I'm sure that it's up there now because they own Marvel and Star Wars, and some of these movies make $1 billion. But if you think how many movies did Disney do this year that made $1 billion? What? Even if it was 3 or 4, that's okay. So $4 billion. Then you have to deduct what they spent on the movie, and then you realize that the parks made 30 times that.
So you said that also included the merchandising. That's
Yes.
how you can get facilitated there. If I make a movie for Hawkeye, now I get to sell Hawkeye's bow 200 million times for $20. It doesn't matter if Hawkeye was a good movie, a good show. You have an image of what Hawkeye looks like in your mind based on the Avengers, that you watched, and that's what you're buying. You're buying that image.
Well, and I will
One-
say that oh, go on.
I was wondering who owns the rights to lightsabers, because Lord knows every child has a lightsaber. So that was a multi-million-dollar industry by itself.
I know that if you go to Disney World today, you cannot bring your own cosplay. Like, they will not let you cosplay as characters. And a big thing with Star Wars is that, like, people like to dress up in Star Wars stuff, but you cannot wear outside Star Wars apparel to Disney World. They will stop you. They will tell you have to take it off. They will not let you come in. But you can buy at Disney World. You can buy a little like Jedi hood, and you can buy a Jedi lightsaber. The Jedi lightsabers that they sell, like the good one, you can go to one of their places, and it's like an attraction where you go through, and they do like Jedi lightsaber training with you and stuff with a lightsaber that you yourself build. But those lightsabers cost like between like $500 and $100 and $1,000. Like,
No, the experience is I tried to get into it. It's $300 for the experience, and if you're talking about the vacation, I'll pay it to make sure that me and my kid have that experience. But I'm telling you, it is booked up the moment they open up at the beginning of the year. They immediately sell out on that lightsaber experience.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, I guess everybody has to be rich to go to Disney World.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what's funny is that, like, did you see the trailers for, what did they call it? They had like Disney's you stay in a starship experience or whatever. Do you know what I'm talking about? So Disney was, Disney Hotel Starship or whatever. So I'm looking it up, but they had a Disney Star Wars Hotel. It was costing, so a family of 4 can expect to pay, this is the new Star Wars Hotel. Family of 4 could expect to pay $6,000 for 2 nights on board the Disney's Galactic Star Cruiser. So this is $6,000 for 2 nights. And for 2 nights. And what you get, and I can't, let me see, I'm trying to figure out how I would even show you guys this, but what you get is, one second. Let me go like this. I'll show you real quick.
Get a date with Minnie Mouse.
Yeah, no, you get like the hotel room is a standard, think like a Motel 8, and I'm gonna save it and show you guys the picture. But the hotel room is like, think your standard Motel 8, okay, or Motel 6 or whatever. One bed, and then 2 cubbies that are like bunk beds in the wall. And then there's like a bathroom, and then your standard like outside of the bathroom sink with a mirror. And you pay $6,000. And when the trailer for this came out on YouTube, it was getting destroyed with negative comments to the point where they deleted it because everything that they showed in it looked really cheap, and the costumes looked cheap, and all of that stuff. It was really, really bad. And people were saying like for $6,000 a night, for the same experience, you could go stay in a Motel 6 or whatever, and then there was some place where they were talking about Space Mountain or something, where you could like go and like play with little spaceship stuff, and it was like a couple of $100 a day or something for your whole family.
You could stay in a Motel 6 for about 30 days, I think.
Let me see.
$6,000.
Just saying, this is the room.
Like
this is the room.
week.
Can you guys see that?
Like entire yearly salary.
Yeah. Do you guys see that?
That would make me mortgage my house. Yep.
Yeah. But you see that? You see the room? Do you see this room that it is?
That's not worth $6,000.
That's $6,000.
Only one bed.
So 1 bed plus 2, like, so this is mom and dad lay in the bed, and then the 2 cubbies there for the kids. Now I have kids that are 3 and 4, or sorry, 4 and 1. Excuse me. I have my daughter is 1 year old and my son is 4. But when my kid turns 15 years old, he's not going to fit in that cubby.
Oh, he'll fit.
Like I'm
$6,000. He'll fit.
Yeah.
That's right. For 6,000. He's gonna
fold your legs.
That's good. That's
Squeeze
good.
in there, boy.
I'll tell you what, guys. I'll tell you what, guys. When we do this next year, look at when we do this next year, we'll all pitch in, and we'll all go, and all of us will stay in the bed, and then my kids will stay in the cubbies.
I couldn't fit in the cubby by myself.
Yeah. But yeah, it was really, really bad. It was really bad when that came out. Now I do know that I think some of the rides that they have are actually pretty cool, with Star Wars and stuff at Disney. But the Space Cruiser thing, they didn't really like get in trouble, but they got embarrassed by that. So, but yeah, so the parks keep them afloat though. The parks make like 30 to 40 times more money than they make on movies and stuff every year. It's like ridiculous.
Hey, Michael, I
Yeah.
saw something. I was looking on that online myself, and I saw where with media and entertainment they made about 55 million. But it was a little chart they had on when I brought it up, which you did. But Disney revenue 2022, and they had a little chart that broke it down. So
Let
I
me
don't
look.
know if that's what they made, but they did that would have cost. But it looks like they made a lot on that too. But
So
And
so
what-
the only
that's
the,
what-
it was like
Yeah.
I put in Disney revenue 2022.
let me see.
And it
So I do
showed
know. I do know that recently they rolled in. They did like not like a bad, they did not like necessarily shady business practices, but they kind of rolled one of their departments into the other to make. So I forget exactly
Beef
what
it
it was,
up.
but yeah, to like beef it up because it wasn't doing so well, and I think it might have been like comics or I don't know. But let me see.
Yeah.
In 2021, it was 67.4 billion total. And that's just like the total amount, but I don't have a breakdown. A total revenue of 82 billion. I'm just looking at it right here too, but it doesn't give me the breakdown of this thing that I found doesn't give me a breakdown of what they made. I'm just saying though that like whether they're making the same or maybe a little bit more or whatever, the parks are really what's keeping them afloat because they just make so much money on the parks. It's not even a
Well,
joke.
I think that what might be happening here is what happened to the Sears catalog is that it got to a certain point where it was really working well, and then they didn't change with the computer age, and they basically disappeared. I mean, there's still some stores around, and maybe we're seeing some changes now with the way movies are done and the way people want entertainment. A lot of people don't want to leave their house. They like to watch television. They don't go to the movies to see movies anymore. Because like you
Right.
said, it was too expensive. You're like spending half your paycheck to go to the movies and buy a $5 hot dog or something like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
if I'm
I-
going to spend $100 to take my family out to, a Star Cinema or something like that, it better be a really good movie.
Mhm.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is that like Spider-Man: No Way Home made a lot of money? Joker made $1 billion at the box office,
Mhm.
and with Joaquin Phoenix made it more than $1 billion at the box office, and the budget for that movie was so small that like I think their profit was almost $1 billion. Like it was something. It was like 800 million of that money was a profit. Now they're making Joker 2, but like if it's a good movie, people will go see it. But what's happening,
Exactly.
and I agree, and then like on the other hand, is I'm agreeing with other Mike here and saying that a lot of times it ain't good movies, because Disney has had
yeah.
Disney has had a couple box office bombs. Strange World came out and they said that it was Strange World. A lot of people are saying that it's very political and it's not very. The writing isn't good and it's very political. Everything that we've kind of been talking about. And then everybody kind of has to realize too. So that was a box office bomb, and it's going to lose over $100 million. What was it? Star Command. It was the Buzz Lightyear movie. That movie came out and bombed. And then James Cameron's Avatar right now. You want to talk about bloated? Like another thing I was going to mention is bloated budgets in the movie industry. But James Cameron's Avatar, okay, he said in an interview that it would take $2 billion for that movie to break even, and right now it is bombing at the box office. Like it's not doing well at the box office.
Because I didn't want.
Sell it to that company in Texas.
Yeah. But guess what? Avatar is Disney, and yeah. And let me see. Right now, well, you guys can talk, but I'm looking at the box office right now.
I really wanted to see Avatar. I mean, if I really wanted to see it, I would have seen it already. But I was kind of looking forward to it. Now I'm getting a little from what you're saying. I heard that the special effects were phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I didn't hear much else about the movie. I saw the trailer for it, but it just said, "Okay, that's pretty."
Yeah.
So
You
current.
gotta have a good storyline. I mean, that's the key. Joker showed
Well-
that. That Joker was a great storyline, and they didn't need a whole lot to make a really good story. You don't have to have all this, flashy stuff. You have to have something that people can sink their teeth into. Joker was a movie like that.
Plus, like they're breaking the even the old movie rule where if you're gonna capitalize off of a continuation, a secondary movie, and it's not a reboot, you have to get that quick out of the gate. You can't wait 20 years to do your second movie.
Yeah.
Everybody is like,
Yeah.
Avatar. You know what? No, that was forever
Right.
ago.
Or
Yeah, that was
Indiana
13 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and Indiana Jones, yeah.
Jones.
So right
That
now,
was great. You stopped.
I just want to say, so right now, its opening weekend was 435 million globally. It needs 2 billion to break even. 435 million globally. And then now, at this point, it has crossed 550 million. So the first weekend, it made 435 million, and then it had about, I think it was a 60% drop, which is typical. That is typical. But if it's going to make $2 billion, it's got to pick up because it's not going to make it.
Definitely.
And I will
Also, Avatar, when it first came out, had the graphics of that day when it was first coming out were you're blown away. Since then, the art and the technology has gotten so much better than when Avatar first came out that these kind of things are now taken for granted. It's more expected that you're going to have that level of quality to your show.
Yeah.
So it was a commodity. It was odd when Avatar first came out. Oh my God, this is really realistic CGI. It's crazy. This is artistically done. We should go see this. Now you're okay, and we expect this from you.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
like when Jurassic Park came out, and when they first showed the T-Rex and his foot hit the ground or whatever, my jaw dropped to the ground. I said, how did they hire this monster to come into the film to do this? And then by the time we get to Jurassic World, it's oh yeah, dinosaurs.
Really revived
Yeah.
the T-Rex. Where's he?
Yeah.
They went back up. They rehired the same actor or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just
That's good. I'd say actor.
You need a new T-Rex.
Well, what's interesting and I want to point out is that you were right when you said that we need to stick to tried and true. I forget exactly methods of storytelling because it's all the hero's journey, right? It's all the hero's journey, or it's drama, everybody. We're basically continually telling ourselves the same stories, and what I think is really important for people to realize is that modern movies, movies and video games, and I think to a lesser extent books at this point in history, but they are the modern mythology because so they're so popular and people watch them, kids watch them growing up. And I remember being a kid watching movies, like Captain America and Thor and some of the MCU movies and thinking to myself, that's the kind of man I want to be. That's the kind of person I want to be. And that, this is what's right, this is what's wrong. And you learn those things from those. But what I just wanted to say anyway about the first Avatar movie is that it was actually a very basic story, but it was told well. It was nothing special. What did people? I know when people first came out, it was it's Pocahontas, but modern day,
Yeah.
And now I don't know what's going on with the current one, but I've heard that James Cameron did some, is getting criticized because there's some political stuff in it, and that it was too long. Too far away from the original movie coming out, and I know that there was supposed to be 5 movies in total, and this was the second one, and I think that the other movies are getting canceled after this. Yeah, so. One thing though, did you guys hear? So 5-minute warning. We got 5 minutes. I know we're moving fast. Wow. Did you guys hear about this controversy with James Cameron flipping off the fans? Did you hear about this?
No.
No.
So the way that it's been framed, I want to kind of set the record straight here real quick, is that the way that this has been framed is that James Cameron flipped off some fans because he went to something and got booed. But so what happened was he was supposed to sign autographs, and he refused to do it. Like, I guess that people like even paid money or did some special access so he would sign autographs, and he wouldn't do it. So then people were like booing at him, and he flipped him off. There's also kind of, yeah, I'm like, there was also a little bit of a controversy with Avatar because somebody complained, what is with journalists? Have you read anything on a journalist, like by an actual journalist in a while? I guess they're getting crazy. They said that, oh, what's that?
I said I have. They say some wild things. They
Yeah.
really do go kind of crazy.
Have you heard about the Blueface controversy?
Talking about the rapper or the
No. From Avatar, it's about Avatar. So they're basically, a journalist now has come out, and they got destroyed on social media because they said that Avatar is racist because it's a bunch of white actors dressing up and playing cosplay of people of color, blue color. It's Blueface.
I think they really just try to say whatever they think people are gonna, think. Okay, that's kind of crazy, but I think they think that any type of audio, like if it's bad or good, anybody looking at their stuff is good to them, even if it's something like completely stupid.
It's so stupid. 3-minute warning, by the way. 3-minute warning. Yeah, it's so stupid. I hear, so I watch this guy who basically his whole YouTube channel is, he like watches, like reads things from journalists and kind of pays attention to media, and then he comments on how stupid it is. I mean, he doesn't always comment on how stupid it is, but a lot of stuff like, just a lot of the stuff that journalists are saying now, like video game journalists, media journalists, every single time that anything good happens.
Michael, They got to make money, and if they're more controversial, they get more people to their website, and they see more advertisements, so they make money.
I know, and
I would do that. I mean, that's unethical. I wouldn't do that, but if I was trying to make money, I would say controversial things.
That's a big thing nowadays. The more controversial, the more views, the more money.
Yeah. I'm just saying that it's a shame. I mean, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just like, that's kind of a shame that people make such fools of themselves nowadays for attention. And I mean, it's to get money, but it's like, come on.
It's like YouTube when you see, I've seen headlines that are disgusting on the YouTube, but it's like you'll have this this popular actor or actress, and it says they're close to death or they died or something, and of course when you see this, you turn the thing on. It's just, whoa, I didn't hear about this. Maybe it's news. But then for the very end, they'll kind of mention something in the end, and like they had heard secondhand that there was a sickness, or they may presume there was, and if they're just using the title as a hook. And these people, and some people, what they're doing is like, we all expect from growing up that you're supposed to hear news, but what we're really getting is commentary. And they figure, well, I've got a camera and I've got a microphone. You're going to listen to me, and the more controversial I make it, you'll think it's news, but it's just my opinion, and it doesn't matter who I heard. So sad.
Well, so we have about 40 seconds left, and then we're going to go to ad break, and then we're going to do kind of our last segment here. Does anybody have anything that they want to say, kind of to wrap this segment of the show up?
Yeah, I'm not even going to finish it before we end, but it has to do with the melding of video games and movies, and I'll just leave it there. I'll keep you guessing.
Okay, so we're gonna. All right. Well, I guess we're gonna talk about that when we come back then.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yes, we
right.
are.
Awesome. All right. So then we're gonna go, and we will see you after these short messages. All right, everybody, we're back. Lloyd had a candy bar or something that he took a bite of, so let him.
Almost out the Nature Valley. This is that's not a plug, but it's a
Oh, okay.
Nature Valley.
Oh, okay. There you go. So he's gonna walk us through. So what's up? You got something you want to tell us, Lloyd?
Yeah. Not that I have any inside information or anything like that. This is my own personal speculation. Uh, More than a decade ago, maybe it was like 15 years ago, maybe more, might have been 2 decades ago, there was a movie, a miniseries called Wild Palms, which
Okay.
it depicted, it had like the old on a table that had like an old VCR underneath the table, but there was a unit on the top. Now the unit on the top looked like um, a projector, a video projector, but what it actually was a projector slash computer which was scanning the room, and it had the ability to place a three-dimensional figure anywhere in the room. And it was so sophisticated that it could, if a person was sitting on a couch back there, like my furniture over here, my my background back here, that it could place a person next to you. This is all just three-dimensional, not solid. Next to you, and you can talk and interact the same way you might interact with someone on the phone, and you swear that it's a person you're talking to, and they say, "Well, I'm sorry, could you repeat that again?" And you would simply be
Yep.
doing interacting. Now, the next step, I believe, that's going to be happening between game playing and the whole VR thing and trying to immerse yourself in the world, it would be a lot more interactive if the figure itself or the game itself were able to be placed in front of you when you're sitting there. And instead of this world on a two-dimensional screen, there is now a world on a three-dimensional level, which you are interacting with. And
Yeah,
I know that's coming. I know that somebody's going to make a lot of money with that. In terms of, I mean, I've seen like faulty ways of doing that, and they've got all of these projectors on all of these different sides, and everyone's seen like what is it, Michael Jackson or Whitney Houston and the three-dimensional figures that they have up on stage and such. But that's a lot
yeah.
of work. You need a large area. But for the home market, eventually, someone's going to bring that out, and that's where we're all going. I don't know if we'll be
Like
here.
like
That's where it's going.
like in Star Wars, when they call each other and they have the little thing, and the Emperor
No,
comes up and he's like,
you're my only hope. Yes,
yeah,
it's exactly like that. It's a
yeah,
projector, but more sophisticated. Even these days in Star Wars, they try to do it grainy, so it'll be reminiscent of the original movie. Um, and they have the ability to make it just, high definition and everything. But it's coming. It's coming.
Like it's like a hollow projection. Is that what you're saying? Is that what they
Yeah.
call it? Like a
yeah.
Outside of
How
VR glasses, and it would be in front of you. The game or the TV series or Titanic or all of that within certain parameters and borders would be occurring three-dimensionally in front of you. And it might be the home market that you'd need to place a projector in like all four corners of the ceiling or something. But
yeah.
in terms of the sight and the sound, it would be occurring in front of you. And
Isn't that why the TV is kind of curved? It gives a kind of a projection in a TV too, right? So this is just a little bit further than that.
yeah, that's on one level, people might want it to be that, but it's still two-dimensional no matter what you do.
Yeah, yeah.
Curved dimension.
That's
And
interesting.
I
yeah,
think the closest you're getting to right now is augmented reality. That's it's
okay,
on the
so
forefront of what you're talking about. So you have like a lot of these games, like the Pokemon Go, and I think they've done a Harry Potter game, and they'll do a
Yeah,
few more.
yeah,
Where you're interacting on your phone in real time, and as you bring your camera up, events and things appear in front of you, and then
right,
you're interacting with those things.
right.
Yeah, right now there's still the separation of your phone from what is occurring. They're really pushing that level, like trying to put these games on the iWatch, and then maybe if they make some sort of like incorporation with the VR, having glasses to where you can see the augmented reality, how you're really getting into that.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it
actually, to tell you
like
the truth,
Minority
that
Report?
Okay, what was it that was happening in it's been a while since I've seen.
Well, they had different where they actually had a character where somebody was interacting with in the it looked 3D, but it wasn't real. They weren't totally solid or anything like that.
oh
but,
yeah, they'd sit in the chair, right?
right. There were. I mean,
Yes,
there
like that.
one. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yes, like that. Yeah. And most
Well,
likely that would come to a movie theater and blow people away. I mean, they tried doing it with the IMAX screens, making it as big and as wide as possible to try to immerse you into the experience. But if they could take just the theater and on that stage area produce something which is that realistic, and they'd make a lot of money with that. But it might not be cost effective to do it in the beginning. But when you move it from there to a theater to the home market, that would change. I mean, the same way we used to have the old type of CRT TVs and such, and it's hard to find those anywhere. And everything is the flat screens in homes. This would get rid of the flat screen. It would be the next level up on technology for home entertainment. So,
That could be in business too. That's in the military and all. I mean, that could go across all.
Yeah.
different.
exactly.
Well, I-
exactly.
If I
just-
could just put on a pair of glasses and watch TV on the wall, like,
Mhm.
and it just
Well, I think
appears
I was
around
just. I think that we're very close to what you're describing, though, Salty Skipper, where I could put on glasses, and even if it's not like a projector, like what you guys are talking about, and I agree that we're close to what you guys are talking about too, like that's coming, but I think we're very, very close. Like I wouldn't be surprised if next month they came out and said, "Hey, you put on these pair of glasses." And then we can, it doesn't actually project, but it does it in such a way that you put on the glasses and you see it. And then you're
Right.
walking around the house seeing everything normal, but then also other stuff. Yeah, that's like we're so close to that.
Mind that you're optically seeing this. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's that is what you know what, actually all you would need to do is put on a pair of glasses that have a camera. You could put on like a pair of glasses, almost like instead of it being like glasses, they're solid, and then it's a camera, and then the glasses part is just a screen, and there you go, it's done. That's it.
So put some side shields on it to have some blinders on the side, and then
Yeah.
the augmented reality's in front of you.
Right,
Right.
and then if you
I think
had
they've done that in the military, so I'm thinking about it. They've done that with soldiers going through the field. They have the helmet on, glasses where
Yeah.
they can.
yeah, what
think
is it
they've
called?
done that.
EST? Electronic.
It's not as complex, and it's mostly like
Right.
with map and stuff. Like you're seeing, the map on the little deal. That full immersion is definitely not quite there.
Right.
Oh, it's fun. Me and my daughter will play the Pokemon Go, and you'll pull the phone up and you see like the Pokemon, and it appears on the table, and now it's in your coffee or your Coke, and you're like, it's in the Coke, the Pokemon's swimming or whatever. But have that
Or
full
if you've-
immersion. Yeah.
Well, have you seen where like you go to a movie and they'll give you like a piece of paper or like a little coaster like thing? It's just a little disc, and you set it on the thing, and then you take your phone and you turn it onto your camera, and then on the coaster or the piece of paper is a little barcode, and so when you look at it, there have been movies out with this idea, so the idea is definitely in action. That's what Staff Sergeant Matt just put in the chat. But when your phone reads that barcode, it makes a 3D image on your phone, on your phone. So you can see, I remember when I went and saw, not Jurassic World Dominion, I saw the Jurassic World, the other one where it's all in the house. In that movie, I got one of those, and it had like a T-Rex come up out of the paper that they gave me, the little brochure, little trifold brochure. Yeah. And so on my phone, I actually had a little like you could put it, and it came up, and like what you're describing, but it was based on this little barcode you'd see.
So
I
something similar I've seen to this, but it's kind of like out there. It's more like with a movie called Strange Days, and it had to do with being able to have some sort of mental connection. I'm trying to remember if Keanu Reeves was in it. I don't think he was in this movie. Might have been another actor. I'm not Johnny Mnemonic. That's crazy. But there was a disc that you could purchase like on the black market or so, or just in general. And I can't even remember the way that you would input it, but it had to do with in some one way, shape, or form, taking this little. It was a life disc. It was an experience disc that someone else climbed up on a mountain and then jumped off and or hang glided or whatever, and you would have this material inputted into your own mind, and what you were seeing is you were experiencing what that person experienced, but not on a screen, not on a three-dimensional thing in front of you, but
Mm.
actually in your mind. And but this
Yeah.
this is going way off the cliff, what I'm talking about here. But it has the what was the movie that has the input with the back of the neck? That
Matrix.
the Matrix. It has to do. It's closer to a Matrix thing in that we're experiencing another reality type of thing because but it's all really happening in your mind. But that's. I'll wait for the home theater projector before I have anybody connect
I,
anything into my brain.
Yeah.
I'll wait.
I was about to say, so I will tell you, I'm afraid of the Matrix, like of them connecting to my brain. But when that happens for video games, I don't know. Like, I would. It's like, do I want to compromise myself in such a way, but at the same time, the experience that would be had in a video game like that would be so cool.
You'll get in though, but then you'll only be able to play Farmville.
That's true. Well, like you ever been in a video game and you're playing the video game and you'll go to turn or do some move in a certain way and your character won't do it and then you'll die and you'll think to yourself, man, in real life I would just do it. I just jump over and be like, well, yeah, that's gonna be the that's gonna be the Matrix. Like the Matrix is gonna plug us into video games in such a way when they finally get to that technology.
Well, they already have technology where they're doing human enhancement, and you'll see it. And I mean, it's not. I mean, I'm just in general, transgender is a thing where people identify as something they're not. And however you feel about that doesn't matter. But now they have transhumanism where they're actually doing enhancements to the body and stuff like that. And that's what I mean. Talking about the Matrix, that's kind of along that line where they're changing the body. I don't know. I don't even know that much about it, but my friend was telling me about that. He's still in the military, and
Elon Musk is pretty close to that.
yeah, it's really somebody who can't walk. They do enhancements to where they can walk. I mean, there's good things about it, but then there's other things that could be like, you ever watch Star Trek? Where I forget which one it was. The doctor had gotten enhancements as a child, and he kind of kept it secret. He was super smart because of that. So the rich get the enhancements and stuff like that. Now, how that plays into entertainment and movies and stuff like that, I don't know, but something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that all parallels into your cyberpunk like dystopia, and you start, and that's really a huge parallel to what we've been talking about this whole time, where the ownership of what you have is non-existent. You don't own anything. You rent everything that you have, and you're happy with it. And if we get to the point where it's like they can start enhancing your bodily autonomy, your fingers, parts and stuff like that, and you skip a payment, what happens? Do they take that back?
I remember that movie.
Yeah, that was Repo. It was the Repo Man.
Repo Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who was there was an old quote. What was it called? I forget. Was it like George Orwell or something? They said, "You will own nothing and you will be happy." And it has to do with an idea called the Great Reset, where basically, it's like an economic idea that eventually we're gonna get to a point where they reset the world, like political powers reset the world economy and basically take everything over and make it in such a way that basically only people of extreme political power will have anything and own anything, and then everybody else, we're going to basically go back to medieval times where we're all peasants and like all of our land and our houses and everything are owned by somebody else. And the idea is like...
Sounds like a coup to me, but I don't know. Sounds like an overthrow of something.
But yeah, when it comes to media and movies and stuff, like I buy very little. They're like I have a PlayStation Network account, and I get free games every month, and they're games that I don't, they're not very important to me. They're just games I get for free, and I can play them like I own the rights because I don't own the game. I own the rights to play the game, and then if PlayStation ever goes out of business, I can't play the game anymore. But I always buy disc. I always buy disc, and that's just because when the company goes out, I can take out, I have a Plague Tale Requiem right here. I can take out the game disc and plug it in, and I can play it. So
That's the way it should
Yeah.
be in terms of ownership.
Let me ask you this, Arnold. You said you have the PS5. Are you able to play the console without it being hooked up to the internet and on the network?
yes, I am. Yes, I am.
I remember that was something they tried to slip in the door with the PS4, and they had to fix that because there was
Not
when they
not the
first came
PS4.
out
It's
of
the
game-
Xbox.
That's right.
Xbox.
And when it first came out, it wasn't on the network, and you weren't, signed in. You couldn't play your games. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, even though you own it, you have a brick, and you better subscribe. You better,
Yeah.
do this.
I think it's funny. I think that's funny. Stuff like that is funny though because and I don't want to get into really get into politics here, but that makes me think of those political ideas when somebody will think of something and then they'll go like, you can't do that because it's racist because minority people can't afford the internet, and or minority people can't afford whatever, and then it's like, well, now think about a gaming company telling you must. In order to play anything at all, even if you've bought the game system and have the game, you must pay for an internet connection and a subscription to our service. That's probably why that didn't work out, but I don't want to get into the politics side of that. But
Television used to be free, totally free, and I guess there's ways of getting around certain things on certain TV stations, signals, whatever. But for the most part, without a cable hookup, you're not watching TV on some low level, But it's crazy. I mean, I grew up with the rabbit ears and put the aluminum foil around there trying to get a bit of signal. It's just normal. That's how it's like you could pick. Oh, UHF, what's that? Channel 13. That's strange.
Yep.
Educational stuff. But for the most part, it seems like this is as much money as people can make off of this, and then it turns into a huge conglomerate, and then people have, again, not wanting to get political, but people have control. The more money, the more influence, the more power. It's crazy. I don't even know where Disney is going with their ability to influence things, because it's somewhere between keeping that particular model of Star Wars, that particular model of the other big one they bought, Marvel.
Marvel.
But in terms of the ability to influence within, it's just it gets crazy after a while.
They talk about social Marxism too.
Yeah.
Where it's no longer political; it's social. That those who have the elites that have the money, they can influence society the way they want it to go. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and actually, Oh, go on.
I was gonna say Disney's so bad that there's things if you're an artist who works for Disney, you're not allowed to unionize, you're not allowed to do any of that stuff, and on top of it, anything that you create while you work at Disney belongs to Disney.
Yeah,
if you
even
draw
if it's not
something
related.
on a napkin, it belongs to Disney while you work under their tutelage.
Yeah. Well, actually, I just want to say that's. Oh, what's that?
No such thing as a free spirit. There, drawing a napkin that belongs to someone.
Yeah.
Well, so that's why it's funny, it's interesting that you bring that up though, because that's kind of the whole crux of Mike's After Action Reviews, of what the idea behind my YouTube channel is because I played The Last of Us, the video game, and that's like a video game movie. That's one of those movies and a video game experiences where you're getting this really cinematic story and there's character development and it's everything like a movie would have, and then you also have some gameplay. You have a lot of gameplay and combat and stuff. But then when The Last of Us 2 came out, they brought in a bunch of... They brought in a bunch of stuff that people weren't interested in because it just didn't really belong in a zombie apocalypse story, which is what The Last of Us, the world of The Last of Us is. And the creators of The Last of Us came out and said, like, people are racist, people are this, people are that, and sexism and racism and every other ism that there is. And people were just saying, like, no, we just wanted a good game. And then when you start to talk about social Marxism, I'm telling you, the first thing that they need to take when it comes to, if I were a group, if we developed, an organization, came together and formed an organization that wanted to change society through, social means of making people believe a certain way, and then that would give us political power, the first thing you need to do is get the stories. Get the stories. And where the most prevalent stories in our society is movies and video games. Movies and video games. If everybody's playing games that present the same ideological ideas, and our kids are raised like this, we start to believe certain things about ourselves that may or may not be true. And then if that gets infected, and instead of focusing on creating good stories, we're creating stories that are teaching, the whole idea is to indoctrinate or present certain ideas, then that can be, that's influencing social constructs, and same thing with movies. So that's why I try to, I talk about it, but I try to stay pretty neutral on certain things because I think that a lot of that it can be dangerous when people have an agenda to change people's ideas.
I mean, I think the overbearing deal is always, the financial aspect of it and trying to market and make money and make a cheap buck all the time. And, I see it with my kid, she plays video games and she's playing like the Roblox and the Minecraft, and you're like, it's like me that grew up with like Mario and stuff like that. You're like, I would have loved to have had graphics and the ability that they have to tell these stories and to like create these things that we make today. It is so commonplace now, and it's so no longer like special. Kids are just like, yeah, no, I'll play the 8-bit, like Roblox thing and get in on that. That's more entertaining. And you're just like, what?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, we're going back, not forward.
All right. Well, listen, guys. So we have about 3 minutes before an ad break, but this was our last segment, so I think that we're good to kind of end it here. If anybody wants to make any last comments, or even if you want to give yourself a plug, because I know that Lloyd has a YouTube channel, and I know that Salty Skipper, you have your Tales of Nihilism. For sure, if you guys want to give yourself a plug, and then we're gonna call it a night.
Okay, well, I will be, of course, the first one to give myself a plug. Please visit endlessperceptions.com. That's my website, dealing with all of my craziness. And there's also on the YouTube channel, the Endless Perceptions of Lloyd A. Green. And that covers about all of it. If you have any questions, just drop me a whatever.
Yeah.
And then Salty Skipper?
Yeah, and I'm on Twitter and Instagram, Salty Skipper 708, Facebook and Amazon. You can look up Tales of Nihilism. Got my little comic run that's too bright, but
Yes, right.
yeah, you can look it up and see that. That's my comic tale where I'm trying to tell this story about a regular guy who has to actually live in a world full of superheroes and how horrible that would actually be.
All right, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to get all of the links for everything. They're going to be in the description of the video on YouTube, because this is going to end up on YouTube. And then, so Other Mike is, he's up on the YouTube channel for me every once in a while, so watch out for that. I know that Chris maybe is going to go see Avatar with me. We'll see about that. But I've got less than a minute left, so I'm gonna call it quits. We're gonna end the stream. If you guys just give me a couple of seconds, and I'll say goodbye to everybody. But I've got to run the little outro for the channel. So I do want to thank everybody for coming. I want to just say I really, really appreciate it. To all of the supporters that watch this, leave likes, comments, subscribe to the channel and all that stuff. Follow us on Twitch. But that's all we've got today, guys. We do want to thank you all for watching and just say God bless you all and have a good
Thank you, Mike.
night.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice meeting
Yeah.
all you
Alright.
guys.
Guys,